Governor Bello Matawalle launches sample collection booths in Zamfara State. Neighboring state of Katsina, Kaduna and Kano can send COVID-19 sample to Zamfara State for test. See what the health sector reform bill can do for you after presentation to President. On business, oil crosses $35 on output cost signals on the international scene. Former UN Secretary General says Gambaree's appointment is a great access to Nigeria and Africa. Welcome to Standard West Television News. My name is Samira Ibrahim. Now the news in full. The Zamfara State Executive Governor Dr. Bello Muhammad Matawalle Maradon has launched the largest zero-contact testing center in Nigeria in order to significantly increase the testing capacity and protect health workers who are the frontline soldiers in the coronavirus region war. Governor Matawalle said provision of the new state-of-the-art facility is in furtherance of his administration's firm resolve to rid the state of the global scourge with an initiative that is guaranteed to improve the testing capacity of the virus in line with the World Health Organization's recommendations in order to regularly test and isolate COVID-19 patients in the state and its neighbors. He described the intervention as part of the broader strategy put in place by the Zamfara state government in expeditious response to the pandemic that unsettles our world through the disruption of our social and economic activities, spike in mortality rate and general exacerbation of global health challenges. Governor Matawalle noted that with sample collection booths, the state government will be cutting costs by achieving more with less, as it had become difficult and economically unsustainable to justify using new personal protective equipment (PPE) to test each patient, especially with the global scarcity of the vital equipment, as the booth pays for itself within 5 to 7 days due to the cost of savings on the purchase of PPE. The governor said the move will equally ensure timely delivery of collected samples because the booths can be deployed in border towns and remote areas. He explained that in post-COVID-19, the sample collection booths can be converted into telemedicine booths, an innovation that is poised to boost the people's access to healthcare and their overall well-being, especially in the hinterlands of the state. He said to date, Zamfara remains one of the states with the best approach to containing COVID-19, having built an ultra-modern isolation center from start to finish within 2 weeks. It also procured more PPEs, acquired 6 PCE machines, disinfectant discontamination machines, disinfection tunnels, and sample collection booths, making it fit for the NCDC to comfortably set up multiple molecular laboratories, a situation which occurred the state to boost of having one of the best COVID-19 recovery statistics in the country. He further stated that following several years of palpable neglect in the healthcare and other sectors in the state, his administration made concerted effort to address the situation, including the provision and upgrading of the health institutions, procurement of ambulances in all the 17 general hospitals in the state, construction of 147 comprehensive healthcare facilities across all the 147 wards, procurement of 147 tricycles to all the 147 comprehensive healthcare centers, revival of the state drug revolving programs, among others. No fewer than 8 doctors have been infected with the coronavirus disease in Zamfara State. The state chapter of Nigerian Medical Association made this known. Speaking in an interview with Standard West Television, the vice chairman of the association, Dr. Manir Bature, said 10% of the confirmed infected persons were doctors. He said while a larger number of the infected medical doctors have recovered and left hospitals, others are still undergoing treatment at the state isolation center. Dr. Bature further said 30 other doctors who came in contact with their infected colleagues have gone into self-isolation and will only return to work after the mandatory 14 days incubation period of the virus. He said although there was no death recorded among the infected health workers, the development had negatively impacted on the performance of doctors in the state, especially in this COVID-19 pandemic. He pointed out that the infection on doctors was accidental and partly due to lack of adequate working tools, which have been overstrained due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations, DIF Abdul Majid Ali, Tuesday afternoon in Katsina, told newsmen that the joint security operations ordered by President Muhammadu Buhari to end banditry attacks in the state will take a few days. The DIG further told newsmen that all security agencies are presently strategizing on how to launch a successful onslaught against the bandits, adding that the banditry activities in Katsina state will soon be a thing of a past. He stated that already the Joint Special Force comprising of police, army, DSS and NSCDC were deployed from Abuja to Katsina for the onslaught operation, which is expected to take place any moment. Nigeria has recorded 226 new cases of coronavirus across various states of the country. Announcing via its official Twitter handle on Tuesday night, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control (NCDC) stated that 131 cases were recorded in Lagos State, 25 cases in Ogun State, 15 cases in Plateau State, 11 cases in Edo State, 7 cases in Kaduna State, and 6 cases in Oyo State. The tweet further reveals that 5 cases each were recorded in the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) and Adamawa State, 4 cases in Jigawa, Ebonyi and Borno States, 3 cases in Nasarawa State, 2 cases in Bauchi and Gombe State, and 1 case each in Enugu and Bayelsa State. As at now, 6,401 persons have tested positive for COVID-19 in Nigeria, with 1,734 patients discharged and 192 deaths recorded. Neighboring states of Katsina, Kaduna and Kano can send their COVID-19 samples for tests as new sample collection booth was launched in Zamfara State. Addressing journalists in Gusau, the State Commissioner for Health, Alhaji Haya Muhammad Kanuma, explained that the sample collection booth is the first of its kind owned by the state in Nigeria. He said the administration of Bello Muhammad Matawalli has decided to set up the sample center in order to ease the difficulties encountered whenever blood samples are sent to Abuja and Sokoto for tests. In a related development, the Director General Media and Communication to Governor Bello Muhammad Matawalli, Malam Yusuf Idris Kusau, said the provision of the new state-of-the-art facilities is in furtherance of Matawalli's administration's firm resolve to rid the state of the global scourge with an initiative that is guaranteed to improve the testing capacity of the virus in line with the World Health Organization's recommendation in order to regularly test and isolate COVID-19 patients in the state and its neighbors. Zamfara state government has rejected the result of 8 persons tested positive to COVID-19 by the National Center for Disease Control (NCDC). State Commissioner for Health Yahya Muhammad Kanuma disclosed this in an interview with newsmen in Gusau, the state capital. Alhaji Yahya Kanuma noted that only 2 people were genuinely tested positive in Zamfara as at 18th of May 2020, noting that it's unfortunate for the NCDC to add additional 8 persons into the result of Zamfara state. The commissioner further explained that the state government has already written to demand for apology from the NCDC, adding that the action of the NCDC has brought an embarrassment to the state. According to the breakdown by the commissioner, Zamfara state has so far recorded 76 cases since the outbreak of the pandemic. 26 patients have been successfully discharged. The state has 46 active cases and it has recorded 5 deaths. President Muhammadu Buhari has sent a message of congratulations to Dr. Olugunji Ogumbiyi, the distinguished Nigerian consultant surgeon, on his discharge from hospital in London after recovering from COVID-19. Dr. Ogumbiyi has taught several generations of UK doctors and is an eminent surgeon at the Royal Free Hospital, one of London's leading reference hospitals. He was under care for 2.5 weeks and is now completely recovered. A hospital source said Dr. Ogumbiyi was irreplaceable, such was the regard he was held in the UK healthcare community. President Buhari, on behalf of all Nigerians, wished Dr. Ogumbiyi quick recuperation and early return to work. The National Council on Privatization (NCP) has approved a draft legislative instrument to enact health sector reform bill and associated legislation. The draft bill will be presented to President Muhammadu Buhari and the Federal Executive Council (FEC). The approval was given on Tuesday at the meeting of the NCP presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. A tweet by his spokesman, Laulu Akande, said the NCP approved the preparation and presentation to President Muhammadu Buhari and the Federal Executive Council a draft legislative instrument to enact the health sector reform bill and associated legislation. He noted that the critical point is that this Buhari's administration's proposed reforms will ensure that several millions of Nigerians who can't afford to pay for it will begin to receive efficient healthcare services once the new system takes off. The House of Representatives has urged the federal government to set up a 15 billion naira coronavirus emergency fund for Nigerian universities and tertiary institutions. The fund was to respond to the impact of coronavirus on academic, research and administrative operations of universities across the country. This was contained in a motion on the need to set up a 15 billion naira coronavirus emergency fund for Nigerian universities and tertiary institutions, unanimously adopted by the House. Presenting the motion, a member from Bayelsa State, Mr. Steve Azeki, expressed concern that the pandemic had a devastating impact on the Nigerian education system, especially universities and tertiary institutions. Mr. Azeki explained that the fund, apart from mitigating the impact of the pandemic, will serve as motivational incentives to develop the nation's healthcare system. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has approved the presentation of a draft legislative instrument to enact the health sector reform bill to President Muhammadu Buhari and the Federal Executive Council. The approval was given at the second meeting of the National Council on Privatization with the Vice President as chairman. The meeting, which held on Tuesday at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, saw the adoption of the reforms bill, which is set to ensure access to millions of Nigerians presently unable to afford efficient healthcare services. Addressing journalists after the meeting, the Director General of the Bureau of Public Enterprises said, "The COVID-19 pandemic revealed that a lot of wrongs have been accepted as the norm in Nigeria's health sector, and this reform seeks to right those wrongs." Other members of the NCP include several federal ministers and the Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele. The embattled Director General of the SEC, Munir Gwarzo, has resigned after a period of meritorious service to the nation. In a letter of acceptance by the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Finance, Dr. Mahmoud Isa Dutse, made available to Control TV, the Permanent Secretary said his resignation has been accepted, though with a backdate to 9th January 2020. The Permanent Secretary also says all of Mr. Gwarzo's entitlement will be paid. DG Gwarzo was alleged to have spent over 1.7 billion naira on golden handshake to some staff without due process and approval. Also, filings with Corporate Affairs Corporation (CAC) and bank documents showing Mr. Gwarzo may have been economically with the fact about his relationships with the two private companies linked to him. Minister of Power, Engineer Saleh Mamman, sacked the Managing Director of Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, Usman Mohammed, and replaced with Sule Abdul Aziz in an acting capacity. This was disclosed in a statement issued by the Special Advisor, Media and Communications to the Minister, Aaron Atmas, on Tuesday and seen by Nairametrics. Atmas also disclosed that the Minister confirmed the appointment of 4 directors who have been on acting position in the company for some time. The directors are Executive Director, Transmission Services Provider, Victor Adewumi, Executive Director, Independent Systems Operator, MJ Lawal, Executive Director, Finance and Accounts, Ahmed Isa Dutse, and Executive Director, Human Resources and Corporate Service, Justin Dudu. He said all the charges and appointments have been approved by President Muhammadu Buhari. The House of Representatives yesterday directed the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) and the management of WAM Refining and Petrochemical Company (WRPC) to reinstate over 300 casual workers relieved of their jobs pending the outcome of an investigation into the issue, adopting a motion initiated by Mr. Thomas Eveyitomi at the plenary, presided by Speaker Femi Bajabiamila. The House mandated its Committee on Petroleum Downstream to look into the issue. The committee is to also carry out a forensic investigation into the recent recruitment of graduate trainees by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) with a view to determine how many persons were recruited from the various host communities. Eveyitomi, while moving the motion, remarked that WRPC had gone ahead to sack over 300 casual staffs of the refinery, in spite of the federal government directives that no government agency or private establishment should sack or lay off any of its staff due to the coronavirus pandemic in the country. The lawmaker claimed that all the affected persons are indigents of the host communities where the refinery is located, which is made up of Isekiri and Ohobo communities. He said it was unfortunate that the NNPC went ahead to recruit 1,050 graduate trainees against the resolution and recommendations of the House. Ahead of the reopening of flight operations in Nigeria, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria (FAN) has commenced the fumigation of the Lagos, Abuja and Port Harcourt international airports. The fumigation exercise is against the coronavirus pandemic ravaging the world. It is not clear yet when the ban on flight will be lifted, but the agency is taking these proactive steps to ensure the safety of passengers and other airport users when the gateways are reopened. In March this year, the agency embarked on a similar exercise of disinfection and fumigation of all the international airports. With the extension on the ban on flight operations by 4 weeks last month by the Chairman, Presidential Task Force (PTF) on COVID-19 and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, it is hoped that by June flight operations may resume. However, the ban is still subject to review. On business, oil prices were steady yesterday amidst signs that producers are cutting output as promised, while traders await more clarity on the demand pictures as some countries ease out of lockdowns. Benchmark Brent crude rose 43 cents or 1.26% to trade at $35.25 per barrel. The front-month contract for West Texas Intermediate (WTI) crude, which is set to expire yesterday, was up $1.27 or 4% at $33.09 per barrel. The July contract, which was trading at vastly higher volumes, was 1 cent at $31.75 per barrel. A powerful cocktail made of bullshit ingredients have been supporting the oil market for a month. Demand is improving, supply is decreasing, said oil broker PBM's Thomas Varga. This improvement in sentiment, however, is expected to be relatively short-lived. Economic output will grow compared to the current quarter, but will be well below the levels expected at the beginning of the year. Global demand recovery is expected to be slow as some restrictions remain and there is a significant risk of repeat outbreaks and lockdowns. And on the international scene, former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has described the appointment of Professor Ibrahim Gambari as the Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari as a great access to Nigeria and Africa in a broader sense. In a letter of congratulations addressed to Professor Gambari dated May 18, 2020, the former UN Secretary General congratulated Professor Gambari on his appointment as Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria. Mr. Ban Ki-moon described Professor Gambari's appointment as a great access not to President of Nigeria, but also to the country Nigeria and Africa in a broader sense. He expressed confidence that the invaluable experience gained while serving the UN with various important leadership roles would help his leadership in addressing the challenging times caused by COVID-19. He shared the good news with the former Minister Yu Kong-ha, Gambari's good friend and former Foreign Minister of Korea. He also sent his warmest congratulations to Professor Gambari. The 8th Secretary General of the UN, who penned his congratulatory letter from his base in Seoul, South Korea's capital, said he looked forward to meeting his former colleague at the UN again, while wishing the accomplished Nigerian diplomat success on his new assignment. Still on the international scene, a US doctor, Dr. Bill, says rich people around the world, even government officials, have been spending a lot of money on expensive tributes to health workers, appreciating them for the good work they have been doing, but a particular doctor didn't take it lightly. A US doctor who has had enough, as he took to the internet to slam rich individuals who make expensive tributes to health workers to show support. Dr. Bill, who is a healthcare worker that helps patients fight against COVID-19 pandemic, was angry as he said on his video he posted on his social media. If you want to help care workers, feed the poor and buy kits for doctors, nurses, and not waste the money over flying jet as tribute to health workers. That has been the news from Standard Press Television. To end the news, a quick look at the major headlines. Governor Bello Matawalle launches sample collection booths in Zamfara State. Neighboring state of Katsina, Kaduna and Kano can send COVID-19 sample to Zamfara State for test. See what the health sector reform bill can do for you after presentation to President. On business, oil crosses $35 on output cut signals. And on the international scene, former UN Secretary General says Gambaree's appointment is a great access to Nigeria and Africa. That's the news. On behalf of the production crew, head of news and current affairs department, Ibrahim Robertino, I am Svtv Ibrahim, wishing you a pleasant day. Keep watching Standard Press Television News. Goodbye.